Right, just like your car needs to be roadworthy with proper brakes, tyres, registration, yada yada yada. Same with electrical. Here's a certificate of electrical safety I did back in 2018 for a customer who had a solar system only, no batteries. AusNet sent him a letter saying, can you check for roadworthiness of your system? They used to do this, they don't bother anymore because no one cares, but this customer did. So he rang me up out of the yellow pages or something. I went there, checked his system. So it turns out that the AC, this is the 240 volt side of your inverter, the one that's connected to the grid. That's what AC means. The inverter turns off in less than 2 seconds when the grid goes out. That's like a safety standard. In case a linesman's up a pole, he turns off the grid, he goes to work, and your inverter produces power, he gets a shock and falls down the ladder and dies. So we don't want power being produced when the grid is off. That's one of the metrics of an inverter, and here's an example. So it's always been there. This is a claim here now for rebates. I've got an account with the Clean Energy Regulator to claim rebates on solar jobs. So this is my account, and I've put a mock-up of a system in there, and you'll find that all the T's and C's tend to be regarding compliance and to prevent dodgy brothers from claiming rebates when they didn't install proper equipment and whatnot. So we'll go into these in a second, but what we really want to look at and what is necessary is whether they get control over your system or not. Now, customer I'm installing for now, I won't name because it's video, rang up out of concern that, now here's the critical question, whether the system will be mandated to join a virtual power plant in the future. What the answer was from the Clean Energy Regulator, these people here, Clean Energy Regulator, was that the inverter has to be capable of joining a virtual power plant, but you don't ever have to join if you don't want to. It's just that if you do want to join, your inverter has to be capable of. They'll probably offer an incentive down the path in a few years' time. They'll say, oh, come and join a virtual power plant. We'll give you 20 cents a kilowatt hour to drain your batteries or something like that. But if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. And that's the key answer there. You are not mandated to join a virtual power plant later down the track. Your inverter has to be capable of it though, if you choose to do so. So that answers that question. Everything else is, I've got to provide serial numbers of the product so that they can't be used twice, 3 times to stop dodgy brothers claiming rebates over and over again on sites they didn't install for. Most of it's about that, compliance and dodginess. Here, did an actual accredited designer do it? Did an actual accredited installer do it? And down here, I've got to take selfies, on-site attendance statements. The installer was on site to install or supervise. This is to stop cashed in and atarabish going about scamming the system. But so we ignore all this except for this bit. The customer has to make sure, well, this is more for more to do with PV arrays, but they've repeated it here for the battery. But local, state and territory government requirements usually for solar arrays was making sure that the building or structure that you're putting on had a building permit. It was not dodgy brothers built like some house without a building permit. The same here for battery, but once again, our focus is on, do they have control over your system? And there's something in here that mentioned it. Here it is. If the unit is grid connected, the solar battery and inverter used in the installation of blah, 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 is connected to external entities in a manner that would enable the battery and inverter to respond to remote signals. There you go. That's the key word. Okay, let's have a look. Here we have AusNet. They're a distributor. They're the ones that would have control over your inverter. And under what conditions? Well, here it is in the pre-approval application. It's called Solar Emergency Backstop. And this is a great little clause. I've ticked the box here, right? It says all new upgrading and replacement solar connections to Victoria must be emergency backstop enabled to connect via the internet in order to, here it is, remotely turn down or switch off your inverter. What they want to do that for is because on a sunny day, everyone's solar is producing power, but it may only be 20 degrees, 22 degrees. No one's got their air conditioner on, so it's not using power either. So you've got too much power being generated, more than it's being used. That's going to cause the voltage on the grid to skyrocket. It's a safety thing, but we don't trust the government, so we don't want them to even monitor for that, which is good because they've got this exemption here. Connection seeking an emergency backstop exemption will be export limited to 1 kilowatt. You see, what happens is someone might have 5 kilowatt export limit and you're producing 5 kilowatts, sending it out to the grid. The voltage rises because no one's using the power. They turn off your grid, turn your inverter down to 1 kilowatt export remotely. Now, that's what emergency backstop is. So you're not producing 5 anymore, you're down to 1. But if you don't want to be monitored at all because you don't trust them, fair enough. Then you can choose to permanently disable your inverter down to 1 kilowatt export. And you don't care anymore anyway. You used to get 20 cents feeding. Now you're only getting 1, so we don't care. So I don't want to be monitored. I'm going to tick this box here. I verify this site cannot practicably be connected via the internet and will be export constrained to 1 kilowatt. I will say this, whether you get rebates on your battery system or not, this is between you and the grid, not between you and the Clean Energy Regulator rebates, you and AusNet. So you will have to go through this process anyway. If you don't take your rebates on your battery installation, you will still have to tick this box. And if you don't tick this box, you will still have to have your inverter monitored. Whether you get rebates or not, you're going to have to deal with the grid anyway. And you're going to have to tick this box to stop them monitoring. Done. Okay, there you go. So that's just mentioning it there. Anyway, that's it. Everything else is about stopping dodgy brothers to scam the system. I love saying cashed in and utter rubbish. I love those names. I've also got I'm an equal opportunity offender. So there's also Shelby Wright. He's the Aussie guy. He got divorced. He's got 3 kids. He's paying alimony. He's got a gambling addiction. So Shelby Wright is out there scamming the system. Chi Po, of course, Chinese guy. He's very cheap. He's doing everything dodgy. Yeah. Cashed in and utter rubbish. I've seen them. I saw them during the insulation scheme. They came around to my house. Cashed in was the man. He had the Aussie residency visa. He had some dodgy brothers on a student visa who got sent back to India at drop of a hat if no one signed him up again. So he was somebody's slap bitch, and he was in the roof. And they were peeling the bats in half, throwing them around. And I got up, stuck my head in the roof, and said, "What's going on here?" And they all fucked off. Took 6 months for the government to find out that they never claimed rebates. It was about $1,300 per site in 2009, and I was just going around spending a couple of hours at most on each job, probably claiming $1,300 on 4 sites a day. And we funded some retirements they went back to India where that money is worth a lot. It might last you 6 months here, all the scammed money, but over there they've just probably built an empire. We funded some enterprises in India back in 2009, I can tell you that. But anyway, back to the point. The rest of the application is more about personal details and so on. So all of the T's and C's are here, and we've been through it. You're not obligated to go through a virtual power plant, but the inverter has to be capable of if you choose to. And regarding monitoring, we get out of it here because if we're not going to go over 1 kilowatt, we're not going to present a safety issue, and therefore we do not need to be shut down. And that's it. See you later.